I found out my mother was trying to get my daughter taken away when I accidentally logged into her email. I'd set up the account for her a year ago because she kept forgetting passwords. It was still on my phone. At Siam, while feeding Lily, a notification popped up from my sister Jennifer. Subject line CPS update minus timeline. I opened it thinking it was a mistake. It wasn't. Mom Angela said we need to more documented incidents before filing. Dr. Reeves can do another evaluation if we get her to come in for a wellness check. I told Marcus to keep recording. The lawyer says once we have emergency custody, the trust payments get redirected to us as temporary guardians. Stay consistent with what we told Angela about the dates. I read it 4 times. CPS, Dr. Reeves. Marcus recording me. Trust payments. Emergency custody. My father died 8 months before Lily was born. He left a trust for his grandchildren. $3 million. Lily was the only grandchild. Monthly distributions started at birth for her air minus shu, ling a month until age shu. Then full access. I was the trustee, unless I was declared unfit. Then my mother, as alternate trustee, would control it. I didn't move. Just sat there with Lily asleep on my chest and scrolled up. The email chain had 40 messages going back 5 weeks to 3 days after I brought Lily home from the hospital. I read every single one before sunrise. They had a plan. My mother and Jennifer contacted CPS claiming I was having a mental breakdown. They documented incidents minus times I was supposedly confused, angry, neglectful. Patricia Reeves, a psychiatrist from my mom's book club, to evaluate me. They convinced my husband Marcus that I had postpartum psychosis. Catherine filed the emergency custody petition on Thursday morning. The restraining order requests went in at the same time. Marcus, my mother, and Jennifer would all be served by end of day Friday. I had essentially hours to act completely normal. Thursday night, Marcus asked if I wanted to invite my family over for dinner on Saturday. Mom mentioned she hasn't seen much of you this week, he said. I've just been tired. But sure, that sounds nice. He texted my mother right there. She responded in seconds. We'd love to. I'll bring lasagna. I smiled at my phone. They were escalating, planning something for Saturday. I checked the email minus nothing new yet, but I knew it was coming. It came Friday morning. Jennifer to my mother Marcus says they're having us over tomorrow. Perfect timing. I talked to Angela and she said if we can get one more recording of her being volatile, they'll do the removal on Monday. Rich has the petition ready to file. Can you push her buttons about the trust? She gets defensive about money. My mother's response, I'll handle it. Patricia said to document everything. Bring your phone. Meow meow, me. Meow me meow jian. The library somewhere with witnesses. Stay there until 6 p.m. Don't answer calls from any of them. Meow, meow me. Read a book. Acted like everything was fine. My phone started ringing at 2:47 p.m. Marcus. I declined it. He called for more times. Then my mother called. Then Jennifer. Then Marcus again. The text started at 3:15. Marcus, what the fuck is this? Call me NOW. Mom, I just got served with a restraining order. What is happening? Jennifer, are you fucking kidding me right now? Call Mom immediately. Marcus, I'm at the house. Your lawyer had the locks changed. Where are you? I turned my phone to airplane mode and kept reading. At 6 p.m. I drove to a hotel. Catherine had booked it under her firm's name. Marcus didn't know where I was. Neither did my mother. Catherine called at C. How are you doing? Fine. They're panicking. Marcus showed up at my office. Security escorted him out. Your mother called 16 times. I spoke to her once and told her to direct all communication through her attorney. Do they know what evidence we have? Not yet. They will on Monday at the hearing. I sent the full discovery packet to their lawyers an hour ago. They'll get it tomorrow morning. What happens Monday? Emergency custody hearing. The judge reviews our evidence in their petition minus the one they were planning to file. We present first. I'll submit everything minus the emails, the recordings they made, the Google Drive, all of it. Then they have to respond. Their attorneys will probably try to withdraw, but it's too late. This is happening. Will I get full custody? Based on what we have, the judge will see this as a clear conspiracy to defraud. Marcus will be ordered out of the house. Your mother and sister will get restraining orders. You'll also get temporary orders protecting the trust until the trustee hearing. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. Saturday morning, Catherine sent me the email chains from the lawyers. Marcus's attorney had withdrawn. He was scrambling to find new representation. My mother's attorney, Richard Vance, had not withdrawn. He was apparently either stupid or hadn't read the discovery yet. Jennifer didn't have an attorney. She'd been served with the restraining order petition, but wasn't named in the custody case. My mother called Arshis Times on Saturday. Marcus called Senshi. Jennifer sent Sishijat X ranging from please talk to us to you're going to regret this to we weren't mine to help you. I documented all of it. Catherine added it to the filing as evidence of harassment. Sunday morning, Catherine forwarded me an email from Richard Vance to her. Subject: motion to dismiss. He was trying to get the whole case thrown out. His argument was that my mother had genuine concerns about my mental health and was acting in the child's best interest. He claimed the emails were taken out of context. He said Dr. Reeves had performed a preliminary assessment and had professional concerns. Catherine's response was one line, "See you in court." She called me after. "He's going to get destroyed tomorrow." I've also heard from the CPS supervisor. The investigator is being placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. Apparently, when her supervisor saw our evidence, she immediately flagged it for internal affairs. What about Dr. Reeves? The medical board opened an investigation on Friday. She's been notified. Her clinic put out a statement saying she's on temporary leave. I also sent everything to the State Psychiatric Association. She's done. And Marcus? Still looking for a lawyer. He'll probably have to represent himself tomorrow. That'll go well for him. The custody hearing was set for Monday at 2 a.m. Catherine told me to dress conservatively, bring Lily, and let her do all the talking. I wore a navy dress. Lily wore a white uncie with little flowers. We looked like a fucking Gap ad. Marcus was there with a court-appointed attorney he'd met that morning. My mother had Richard Vance. Jennifer was in the gallery, not named as a party but there to support Mom. The judge was a woman in her late wishes named Judge Patricia Morrison. Catherine had looked her up minus former prosecutor. Specialized in family law, no minus nonsense reputation. Catherine presented first. She handed the judge a binder with tabs. Every email. Every recording. Every photo from the Google Drive. The timeline Jennifer had written. The draft petition they'd planned to file. The trust documents showing the financial motive. She walked through it methodically. This is not a case of concerned family members. This is a conspiracy to commit fraud and kidnapping. The respondents coordinated with a psychiatrist who never properly evaluated my client, fabricated evidence of mental illness, and planned to use that fabricated evidence to obtain custody of the child minus in control of a $3 trust. She played 2 of Marcus's recordings. One was me crying after a phone call with the funeral home about Dad's headstone. The other was me yelling at Jennifer for showing up unannounced at 2 a.m. and waking up Lily. These recordings were presented to CPS as evidence of psychosis, Catherine said. One is a grieving daughter. The other is a tired mother setting a boundary. Neither is evidence of mental illness. She submitted Dr. Reeves's statement to CPS. It claimed she'd evaluated me and had serious concerns about postpartum psychosis with risk of harm to the infant. Dr. Reeves met my client once, for 10 minutes, at a social gathering. She is not my client's doctor. She never conducted a formal evaluation. This statement is false, and she knew it was false when she submitted it. The medical board is currently investigating. Judge Morrison read through the binder. It took Arsha minutes. No one spoke. Finally, she looked up. Mr. Vance, I've read your motion to dismiss. Do you want to revise that, or are we proceeding? Richard Vance stood. He looked like he'd aged 5 years over the weekend. Your Honor, we maintain that my client had genuine concerns. Based on fabricated evidence and financial motive, the concerns were genuine, even if the execution was. The execution was conspiracy to commit fraud, possibly kidnapping, depending on how the DA's office views this. She looked at my mother. Mrs. Lawson, did you coordinate with Drive Reeves to provide a false psychiatric evaluation to CPS? My mother's voice was shaking. I asked her for advice. Did you coordinate with her to provide a false evaluation? She said she thought my daughter needed help. That's not what I asked. Silence. Did you plan to obtain custody of your granddaughter in order to control the trust left by your late husband? I would never. Judge Morrison held up the binder. Your emails say otherwise. You discussed the trust payments. You discussed how they would be redirected once you had custody. You used the phrase temporary guardians. What exactly was temporary about your plan? My mother didn't answer. The judge turned to Marcus. Mr. Hayes, you placed hidden cameras in your home to record your wife without her knowledge or consent. Marcus's court-appointed lawyer started to speak, but Marcus cut him off. I thought she was sick. Her mother was lying to you as part of a plan to steal your child and defraud a trust. Did you verify any of these claims with an actual doctor? Dr. Reeves said. Dr. Reeves is not your wife's doctor and had no basis to diagnose her. Did you speak to your wife's actual OB? Her pediatrician? Anyone with actual knowledge of her mental state? No. Did you discuss divorce? Custody arrangements? Any legal avenue before conspiring to have her declared mentally unfit? I didn't think it was a conspiracy. What did you think Shis's secret recordings and 3 hidden cameras were? Marcus didn't answer. Judge Morrison closed the binder. I'm granting the emergency custody petition minus the real one. Not the fraudulent one you were planning to file, Mrs. Lawson. Full custody to the mother. Mr. Hayes, you have 2 hours to vacate the marital home. Mrs. Lawson and Jennifer Lawson, you are both subject to restraining orders minus no contact with the child or the mother for a minimum of 1 year. Subject to review. She looked at Catherine. File the trustee motion. I'll hear it in 2 weeks. Mrs. Lawson, if I see any evidence that you've attempted to access or interfere with that trust, you'll be held in contempt. She banged the gavel. We adjourned. The emails mentioned recordings. Photos of my messy house. A journal Jennifer kept of my concerning behavior. Dates I recognized minus the day I cried at Dad's grave. The time I yelled at Jennifer for not washing her hands before holding Lily. The morning I didn't text Mom back for 8 hours because I was asleep. They were turning exhaustion and grief into evidence of insanity. One email from Jennifer Angela, the CPS investigator, came by yesterday but said she seemed fine. Can you get her to lose it on camera? Maybe bring up something about Dad? My mother's response: I'll try this weekend. Patricia's emotional outbursts are the strongest evidence for the petition. There was a draft court petition in the thread. Emergency temporary custody. Filed by my mother's attorney, Richard Vance. It claimed I was mentally unstable, possibly psychotic, a danger to my infant daughter. It requested immediate removal of the child pending psychiatric evaluation and treatment. They had a Google Drive, shared between my mother, Jennifer, and Marcus. I still had access because mom had me set it up and never changed the settings. Inside just the voice recordings of me, Liu videos, Bashes and photos, and a Word document titled Timeline of Mental Decline. I downloaded everything onto my laptop, created a folder called Evidence, started taking screenshots. By Liu AM, I had Yalsa our screenshots, all the recordings, all the videos, and the entire email chain backed up in 3 separate locations. Marcus came downstairs at 6:30. I was making coffee. You're up early. Lily was fussy all night. Couldn't sleep. He kissed my forehead. I didn't pull away. Your mom's coming by later to help. That's sweet of her. I watched him pour coffee. We'd been married 3 years. Together for 6. He looked tired. Maybe guilty, but I wasn't sure. Have you been recording me? I asked. He went still. I read somewhere that people record voice memos during the newborn phase. For memories. Thought it might be nice. He relaxed. But that's a good idea. He was lying to my face. That was useful information. I showered and texted my college roommate Sarah. She's a family law attorney in Boston. Need a lawyer. Custody case. Preferably someone who doesn't fuck around. She called immediately. I told her everything while Marcus thought I was doing my makeup. Oh, Jesus Christ, she said. Okay. I know someone. Catherine Park. She's in your area and she's vicious. I'll text you her number. Don't talk to anyone in your family until you meet with her. Too late. They don't know I know. Good. Keep it that way. Don't change your behavior at all. Can you do that? Yes. Record everything from now on. Every conversation. Every interaction. Get an app that backs up to the cloud automatically. Do you have money they can't access? I have a separate account from before we got married. About 40K. Use that for legal fees. Catherine's expensive but worth it. First consult is today if you can make it. I met Catherine Park at our PM in her office downtown. Mom was watching Lily. I told her I had a post-partum checkup. Catherine was mid-minus, 40S. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. I gave her my phone and she spent 20 minutes reading through the evidence. This is attempted fraud and conspiracy, she said. Potentially kidnapping. Your husband's involved? All the recordings are his. He's been feeding them information. The psychiatrist minus Dr. Reeves. Did she ever actually evaluate you? I met her once at my mom's house 3 weeks ago. She said she was a friend. We talked for maybe 10 minutes. She asked how I was adjusting to motherhood. I said it was hard but good. Catherine made notes. That's not an evaluation. She can't diagnose you from a conversation at a social gathering. If she submitted anything to CPS claiming otherwise, that's misconduct. I can file a complaint with the medical board. I want more than a complaint. She looked up. How much more? I want custody of my daughter with 0 visitation rights for any of them. I want restraining orders. I want my husband out of my house. I want Dr. Reeves. She'll lose her license. I want CPS to investigate them for filing false reports. And I want my mother removed as alternate trustee, so she never gets a chance to touch my daughter's money. Catherine smiled for the first time. I can do all of that. It's going to get ugly. We spent 2 hours building a strategy. Catherine would file for emergency custody on my behalf, citing the conspiracy. She'd submit all the evidence minus the emails, the recordings, the Google Doctor contents. She'd file complaints against Drive. Reeves with the State Medical Board and the Psychiatric Association. She'd contact CPS to report the fraudulent claims. She'd send a formal notice to Marcus that he needed to vacate our home immediately. What about my mother and sister? I asked. We file for restraining orders based on harassment and conspiracy to commit fraud. We can also pursue civil suits for intentional infliction of emotional distress, conspiracy, and attempted theft. Your father's trust minus, do you have the documentation? All of it. We'll petition to have your mother removed as alternate trustee based on her attempt to abuse the position. We'll request the court appoint an independent trustee instead. How long will this take? The emergency custody hearing will be within 6 hours once we file. The rest will take months, maybe a year. But based on this evidence, you'll win every single motion. I went home at 4 点半. Mom was rocking Lily in the nursery. How was your appointment? She asked. Doctor said I'm healing well. And mentally. How are you feeling? I knew what she was doing. Fishing for something to document. Tired but happy. Lily makes everything worth it. Mom smiled. You know, if you ever need a break, I'm happy to take her for a night. Give you and Marcus some time to rest. That's kind, but I like having her close. Of course. But if you change your mind minus, you need to take care of yourself too. Your father would want that. She brought up Dad on purpose, trying to trigger me. I recognized it now. I know, I said. We all do, sweetheart. She left at 5. I fed Lily and put her down for a nap. Then I went through the house looking for cameras. I found 3. One in the living room bookshelf. One in the kitchen, hidden in a decorative vase. One in our bedroom, in Marcus's charging station. I left them exactly where they were. Marcus was out of the house by Tuesday afternoon. Catherine had a sheriff escort him to collect his belongings. He took his clothes, his computer, and nothing else. He tried to talk to me while packing. I really thought you were sick, he said. Your mom showed me articles about postpartum psychosis. She said women can hide it. I was feeding Lily in the nursery. I didn't look at him. I need you to understand I was trying to protect our daughter. Our daughter has a trust fund worth $3 million, I said. Your girlfriend doesn't. That's an interesting coincidence. He froze. Jennifer found your Tinder account in March. She sent screenshots to Mom. You've been seeing someone named Rachel for 4 months. It's in the emails. I pulled out my phone and showed him. March 15th. Jennifer to Mom found Marcus on Tinder. Should we tell her? Mom's response, not yet. Could be useful later. They'd known about his affair and kept it quiet. Because they needed him cooperative. Marcus's face went white. I didn't minus that wasn't. The sheriff's waiting, I said. He left. I changed the security codes and installed new cameras. Real ones, that only I had access to. The CPS investigation wrapped up on Thursday. Catherine forwarded me the report. Angela Peterson had been formally reprimanded and transferred to a different department. The supervisor's report concluded that she failed to properly investigate the claims and showed bias toward the reporting party. It noted that all of her evidence came from my mother and Jennifer, with no independent corroboration. The report also stated the subject me showed no signs of mental illness, neglect, or inability to care for the child during the initial visit. Investigator Peterson's decision to pursue additional evidence despite this assessment raises questions about her judgment and adherence to protocol. CPS closed the case with a note that my mother and Jennifer had filed a knowingly false report. They referred the matter to the DA's office for possible charges. Catherine called Friday morning. The DA wants to talk to you. They're considering charges against your mother, your sister, and Drive. Reeves, conspiracy to commit fraud, filing false reports, practicing medicine without proper evaluation. Possibly more. What do they need from me? Your testimony. And they want full access to the evidence. I told them we'd cooperate. I met with Assistant DA named Michael Torres the following week. He was mid-censures, looked tired, and had a file 2 inches thick on his desk. Mrs. Hayes, I want to be clear about what we're looking at, he said. Your family didn't just make a mistake. They orchestrated a plan to have your child removed based on fabricated evidence. If we prosecute, they're looking at felony charges. What do you need from me? I need you to walk me through everything. I need to know you'll testify if this goes to trial. And I need you to be prepared for what comes next, minus your mother and sister will probably take a plea. But this will be public. The media might pick it up. I don't care about the media. What about your family? Once we file charges, there's no going back. They tried to take my daughter. There's already no going back. He spent 3 hours taking my statement. I showed him everything minus the emails. The recordings, the Google Drive, the timeline. I explained the trust, the financial motive, the coordination with Dr. Reeves. He made notes on everything. When we finished, he closed his laptop and said, "I'm filing charges. All 3 of them. This is one of the more disturbing cases I've seen." The charges came down 2 weeks later. My mother conspiracy to commit fraud, filing false reports, attempted custodial interference. Jennifer conspiracy to commit fraud, filing false reports. Dr. Reeves medical fraud, conspiracy submitting false statements to a state agency. My mother's bail was set at 50,000. She paid it. Jennifer's was 25,000. She had to borrow from their aunt to make it. Dr. Reeves's was 75,000. She paid it and immediately released a statement through her lawyer claiming she'd been misled by the family and had acted in good faith. Catherine had that statement within an hour. She forwarded it to the medical board and the Psychiatric Association with a note drive. Reeves now claims she was misled, contradicting her previous statement that she conducted a professional evaluation. Which statement is false? The medical board suspended her license pending the outcome of the criminal case. The Psychiatric Association opened their own investigation. Her clinic terminated her contract. She released another statement saying she was stepping away from practice to focus on her defense. The trustee hearing was 3 weeks after the custody hearing. Catherine had prepared a 40-page brief detailing my mother's attempted fraud and requesting her immediate removal as alternate trustee. My mother showed up with a different attorney. Richard Vance had withdrawn after the criminal charges were filed. Her new lawyer was younger, looked underprepared, and kept glancing at me like I was the one who'd committed a crime. Judge Morrison read Catherine's brief, then looked at my mother's attorney. "Does your client dispute any of the facts as presented?" "Your Honor, my client maintains that her actions, while perhaps misguided, were motivated by genuine concern. I've heard this argument. I didn't find it compelling the first time." "Does your client dispute the facts?" "No, Your Honor, but..." "Then we're done. Lawson is removed as alternate trustee effective immediately. The court will appoint an independent fiduciary from the approved list." She looked at my mother. "You are also prohibited from any contact with the trust, its administrator, or any financial institution holding trust assets. Violation will result in contempt charges. Do you understand?" My mother nodded. She was crying. I felt nothing. The judge appointed a trust management firm out of Seattle. They'd never met my mother. They'd never met me. They had no stake in the family drama. They would manage Lily's trust until she turned 25. Catherine filed the civil suits the next day. 3 separate complaints, one against my mother, one against Jennifer, one against Reeves, each for intentional infliction of emotional distress, conspiracy, fraud, and defamation. The amounts are $1 million from my mother, $1 million from Jennifer, and $7 million from Dr. Reeves. "We won't get those full amounts," Catherine said. "But we'll get something. And more importantly, we'll destroy their finances in the process. Legal fees, settlements, judgments. Your mother will have to sell her house. Jennifer will declare bankruptcy. Dr. Reeves already lost her practice, minus this will take whatever she has left. What about Marcus? I'm filing for divorce on Monday." adultery, fraud, conspiracy. We were asking for full custody with supervised visitation only, child support. And half the marital assets minus, which means you keep the house since you owned it before marriage. He'll have to pay his own legal fees for the divorce and the criminal investigation. Criminal investigation? The DA is looking at whether he participated in the conspiracy. He made the recordings knowing they'd be used for the false CPS report. That could be enough. Marcus was charged 3 weeks later. 1-count conspiracy to commit fraud. Lesser charge than my mother and Jennifer, but still a felony. He called me from a restricted number. I answered because I was recording everything. I need to talk to you, he said. Please. I can't afford an attorney. I'm staying at a motel. I lost my job because of the arrest. You should have thought about that before you put cameras in our bedroom. I was trying to help. You were trying to help steal our daughter so your mistress wouldn't leave you when she found out you were broke. Silence. Rachel left when she saw the arrest record. Jennifer told me you'd been promising her we'd get divorced once I was stable. And you'd have access to Lily's trust. You were going to use my daughter's money to fund your new life. That's not. It's in the emails, Marcus. Jennifer documented everything. She thought it was helpful. I hung up. He didn't call again. The preliminary hearing for the criminal cases was in September. All 4 of them showed up minus my mother, Jennifer, Dr. Ive, Reeves, and Marcus. The courtroom was half full. Apparently word had gotten out. Local news ran a story: family accused of conspiracy to steal baby for trust fund. The prosecutor presented the evidence. The judge ruled there was sufficient cause for trial. Trial was set for February. None of them looked at me. Not once. Catherine filed a motion to freeze my mother's assets pending the civil suit. The judge granted it. Mom couldn't sell her house, couldn't access her savings beyond basic living expenses, couldn't transfer anything. She was trapped. Jennifer lost her job in October. She worked in marketing for a mid-size firm downtown. Someone sent the arrest record to her employer. They fired her for behavior inconsistent with company values. She couldn't find new work minus the arrest showed up on every background check. She tried to contact me through a mutual friend in November. Asked if we could talk. Said she was sorry. Said she'd been influenced by Mom and didn't understand what they were doing. I told the friend to tell her no. Catherine sent a cease and desist letter reminding Jennifer of the restraining order. Dr. Reeves's husband filed for divorce in December. He was a cardiologist. The scandal was affecting his practice. He released a statement through his attorney saying he had no knowledge of his wife's actions and was shocked and appalled by the allegations. Dr. Reeves released her own statement saying the divorce was unrelated to the pending legal matters, and they were separating amicably. Her husband's attorney released the divorce filing. He was asking for full custody of their 2 kids and sole ownership of their house. Not so amicable. The DA offered plea deals in January. Plead guilty to conspiracy and filing false reports, serve Shaba months, 5 years probation. Plead guilty to filing false reports, serve 2 months, 3 years probation. Reeves plead guilty to medical fraud and conspiracy. Serve 4 years, surrender her medical license permanently. Pay 50,000in fines. Marcus was offered 4 months and 3 years probation if he pleaded guilty to conspiracy. Catherine called me when the offers came through. What do you want to do? What happens if they don't take the deals? Trial. We win minus the evidence is overwhelming. But your mother could get 7 years instead of 8 months. Jennifer could get 3 years. Dr. Reeves could get 5. Marcus could get 7. And if they take the deals? They're convicted felons. They have records. Your mother loses any chance of ever being near Lily. Dr. Reeves never practices medicine again. Jennifer can't work in any licensed profession. Marcus loses custody rights. Tell the DA I'm fine with the deals. As long as they plead guilty in open court, they all took the deals. The plea hearings were scheduled over 2 weeks in February. My mother went first. She stood in front of Judge Morrison and said guilty twice. Once for conspiracy, once for filing false reports. Her attorney tried to make a statement about her remorse and her mental state and how she'd lost perspective after her husband's death. Judge Morrison cut him off. Your client attempted to steal a baby for financial gain. She coordinated a conspiracy involving multiple people and fabricated evidence to make her daughter appear mentally ill. I don't want to hear about her grief. Starting March E Street. I sat in the back row and fed Lily a bottle. Jennifer's hearing was 3 days later. She pleaded guilty to filing false reports. She made her own statement, crying, saying she was manipulated by our mother and thought she was helping. The prosecutor stood up and read from Jennifer's emails. The ones where she suggested ways to make me lose it on camera. The ones where she tracked my incidents. The ones where she talked about what she'd buy once things settled down and the money came through. The judge gave her 6 months and didn't let her speak again. Dr. Reeves's hearing was the worst. She showed up in a designer suit with 2 attorneys. She pleaded guilty but tried to give a statement about how she'd been deceived by a patient's family and had exercised clinical judgment in good faith. The prosecutors submitted the emails where she coached my mother on what symptoms to document. The ones where she said emotional outbursts are the strongest evidence. Her fee. She was going to charge Shu Ling to testify at the custody hearing about my psychosis. Judge Morrison revoked the plea deal on the spot. I don't accept this plea. You clearly don't understand what you did. We're going to trial. Dr. Reeves's attorneys scrambled. They requested a recess. They came back 2 hours later and she pleaded guilty again, this time with no statement. Judge Morrison gave her 2 years and made the license surrender permanent. You weaponized your position to harm a vulnerable new mother for money, the judge said. You don't deserve to practice medicine. Marcus's hearing was last. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy. He didn't make a statement. He just said guilty and sat down. His public defender told the judge he'd lost his job, his home, and was living with a friend. Judge Morrison gave him 4 months. You put cameras in your wife's bedroom. You recorded her without consent. You participated in a conspiracy to take her child. The fact that you claim you were manipulated doesn't make it better, it makes you gullible and dangerous. 12 months. Starting April E Street. The divorce was finalized in March. I got full custody of Lily. Marcus got supervised visitation for 2 hours every other Sunday, contingent on completing a parenting course and maintaining employment. He had to pay our Ling month in child support starting when he got out of prison. He also had to pay his half of the marital debt minus 40 Ling in credit cards he'd run up while seeing Rachel. I kept the house, the car, and my separate accounts. He got his sitting Yao Kai and his personal belongings. His attorney tried to argue I should pay him spousal support since I had access to family wealth. Catherine left. Her daughter has a trust. She doesn't. Mrs. Hayes works part-time as a grant writer and makes 35Ling a year. Your client makes sorry made disparity 90Ling before he got fired for conspiracy charges. HES not getting alimony. The judge agreed. The civil suit settled in April. My mother's homeowner's insurance covered $1 million of the judgment. She had to sell the house to pay the rest. She walked away with about 60 Ling. She moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in a building with cockroaches. I know because Jennifer posted about it on Facebook before I blocked her. Jennifer declared bankruptcy. She couldn't pay the judgment and couldn't find work. Last I heard, she was working at a Target in the next county over, living with a roommate, driving a 15 old Honda. Dr. Reeves settled for $2 million. Her insurance covered our $1 million. She had to liquidate her retirement accounts to pay the rest. Her ex-husband got the house in the divorce. She got supervised visitation with her kids every other weekend. She moved to Arizona and started working as a wellness consultant. I reported her to the Arizona Medical Board. They opened investigation. Marcus tried to reduce his child support from prison, said he couldn't pay it without a job. Ling so far. My mother wrote me a letter in May. It got returned because of the restraining order, but her attorney forwarded it to Catherine. It was 6 pages long. She said she was sorry. She said she'd been desperate and grieving after Dad died. She said she never meant to hurt me. She said she wanted a relationship with Lily. She said family was supposed to forgive each other. She didn't mention the trust until page 4. She asked if I'd consider restructuring the trust oversight so she could be involved in Lily's life. She suggested supervised visits with financial transparency. Catherine sent a 1-line response: our client declines. Do not contact her again. Mom tried again in July through a different attorney. Asked if I'd agree to modify the restraining order so she could send birthday cards to Lily. I said no. Jennifer sent a Facebook message in August from a new account. I know I can't fix this, but I'm trying to get better. I'm in therapy. I know what we did was wrong. I just want you to know I'm sorry and I think about Lily every day. I reported the message as a restraining order violation. Her probation officer contacted her. She didn't message again. Dr. Reeves's appeal for a reduced sentence was denied in September. She's serving the full 2 years. She'll be out in November. Her medical license is gone permanently. Her husband has full custody of their kids. She's not allowed to contact them unsupervised. Marcus got out early in February with good behavior. 8 months served. He moved in with his brother to states away. He got a job in warehouse logistics making hour. His child support payments are sporadic. I file contempt motions every time he misses one. His wages get garnished. He's never asked to see Lily. The restraining orders against my mother and Jennifer expire in Arlio. Catherine already filed to extend them. Hearing is in November. Neither of them have opposed it. 3 years after the restraining orders were extended. I got a call from Catherine on a Tuesday morning. Lily was in preschool. Painting what she insisted was a dinosaur, but looked more like a purple blob. Your mother's attorney contacted me, Catherine said. She wants to petition for grandparent visitation rights. I set down my coffee. We've been through this. Different angle this time. She's claiming she's completed court-ordered therapy, anger management, and a parenting course. She's maintained stable employment for 18 months. She's asking for supervised visits 1 hour per month at a neutral location with a court-appointed supervisor. No, I agree. But I need to tell you the law in our state recognizes grandparent rights in certain circumstances. She's going to argue she had a relationship with Lily before the restraining order, that cutting off all contact harms the child, and that she's been rehabilitated. She tried to steal my daughter. I know. And that's what we'll argue. But prepare yourself. We're going to court. The hearing was set for October. My mother showed up looking 10 years older. Grayer, thinner, wearing a modest dress instead of her usual expensive clothes. Her attorney was competent this time, a woman in her 50s who specialized in family reunification cases. They presented their evidence first. Letters from my mother's therapist claiming she'd done significant work on her boundary issues and demonstrates genuine remorse. Employment records showing she'd held a steady job as a medical billing clerk for months. Completion certificates from court-ordered programs. Character references from her co-workers and pastor. Her attorney called her to the stand. Mrs. Lawson, can you explain to the court why you're seeking visitation with your granddaughter? My mother's voice was quiet. I made terrible mistakes. I was grieving my husband, and I let that grief turn into something dark. I convinced myself I was protecting Lily when I was really trying to control her future and access her trust fund. She looked at the judge. I was wrong. Completely wrong. I've spent 3 years working to understand why I did. What have you learned? That I was selfish. That I prioritized money over my daughter's well-being. That I manipulated people who trusted me. She glanced at me. I destroyed my relationship with my daughter. I accept that I may never repair that. But Lily is innocent. She didn't do anything wrong. And I'd like the chance supervised, limited. Whatever the court decides to know my granddaughter. Catherine cross-examined. Mrs. Lawson, in your letter to my client in May 3 years ago, you asked about restructuring the trust oversight. Do you remember that? My mother hesitated. Yes. You suggested supervised visits with financial transparency. What did you mean by that? I don't remember exactly what I meant. Were you asking for access to information about your granddaughter's trust? I may have been. I was confused at the time. Catherine pulled out the letter. Your exact words were, I believe supervised visits with financial transparency would ensure Lily's best interests are protected. That doesn't sound confused. That sounds like you were still trying to monitor the trust. I worded it poorly. Or you worded it honestly. Catherine set down the letter. Mrs. Lawson, how much is Lily's trust worth now? I don't know. Approximately. You set it up with your late husband. I don't follow the markets. Take a guess. My mother shifted. Maybe 4 million? It's 5.2 million. You knew that because you filed a motion last year trying to get financial statements from the trustee. Do you remember that? Her attorney objected. The judge overruled it. I wanted to make sure the trust was being managed properly, my mother said. You have no legal right to that information. You're not the trustee. You're not the beneficiary. You were removed from any role in that trust. Why did you need to know? I wanted to ensure my granddaughter's future was secure. Or you wanted to know how much money you're still locked out of. The judge called a recess. Catherine and I went to the hallway. How do you think it's going? She's better prepared than I expected. The therapy records are legitimate. The character witnesses are solid. But that letter and the motion she filed are going to hurt her. She looked at me. What do you want here? I want her to stay away from my daughter. Do you think one supervised hour per month would harm Lily? I thought about it. Lily didn't remember my mother. She'd seen her once in her entire life, the day of the custody hearing, when she was 6 weeks old. She had no relationship to destroy. It's not about harm, I said. It's about what she'll try next. Give her an inch, she'll want a mile. 1 hour becomes overnights becomes, why can't Grandma be more involved in decisions? And eventually, somehow, it'll come back to that trust. Then that's what we argue. Catherine called me to the stand after the recess. She walked me through the conspiracy again, the emails, the planning, the coordination with Drive, Reeves, the hidden cameras. The courtroom had heard it before, but Catherine made sure they heard it again. What do you think would happen if your mother had access to Lily? Catherine asked. She'd use it to manipulate her way back into our lives. She'd start with supervised visits, then ask for phone calls, then birthday parties, then holidays. And eventually she'd convince Lily that I'm the unreasonable one for keeping them apart. Do you believe your mother has changed? I believe she completed the programs the court ordered. I believe she goes to therapy. I don't believe she stopped wanting access to that trust. My mother's attorney tried to shake me on cross-examination. Asked if I was being vindictive. Asked if I was denying Lily a relationship with her grandmother out of spite. Asked if I considered family therapy to repair the relationship. I'm not interested in repairing a relationship with someone who tried to have me declared insane so she could steal my child, I said. And I'm not going to expose my daughter to that person so she can feel better about what she did. The judge took 2 weeks to decide. The ruling came by mail. Catherine called me the day it arrived at her office. He denied the petition, she said. He found that while your mother has made progress in addressing her behavior, the severity of the original conspiracy and her continued attempt to access trust information demonstrate that supervised visitation is not in Lily's best interest at this time. He extended the restraining order for another 5 years, at which point she can petition again. Another 5 years. She'll try again when it expires. She's not going to stop. I know. I hung up and watched Lily in the backyard, digging in her sandbox with intense concentration. She was 4. She had her grandfather's eyes and his stubborn determination. She had a trust fund worth $5 million that she wouldn't touch for 20-1 more years. She had a mother who'd burned every bridge to protect her. She didn't have a grandmother, or an aunt, or a father who bothered to show up. Sometimes I wondered if I should feel guilty about that. If I should want reconciliation or healing or whatever word people used when they thought you should forgive someone who tried to destroy you. But I looked at my daughter, safe and happy and completely unaware of what she'd been protected from, and I didn't feel guilty at all. I felt like I'd won. My mother would petition again in 5 years. Catherine and I would be ready. The answer would still be no. And the 5 years after that. And the 5 after that. Until my mother was too old to keep trying or Lily was old enough to decide for herself. Maybe Lily would want a relationship with her grandmother someday. Maybe she'd read the court records and the emails and decide everyone deserved forgiveness. Or maybe she'd understand that some betrayals don't get second chances. That some people don't change, they just get better at presenting themselves. That protecting someone you love sometimes means keeping other people away, even when they're family. Especially when they're family. I went outside and sat in the grass next to Lily's sandbox. She showed me her collection of rocks, the special ones. Mama, not the regular ones. These are very special, I agreed. Can we keep them forever? As long as you want. She went back to digging. I stayed there watching her, thinking about trusts and court dates and restraining orders and lawyers. Thinking about the price of protection. Worth it.